Welcome to Dr. Karen Health Talks. I'm Dr. Karen, and today's podcast is going to be very personal. Hopefully you have heard the last podcast I did on resilience and thriving. This is a series that I'm going to be doing, and episode 1 was about your set point for happiness. And I just spoke about what that means, that the scientific literature actually does show us that we all have a set point of expected happiness that we keep returning to, bouncing back to after a positive or a negative experience. It's a very interesting concept. And today I'm going to get more personal in episode 2. And this episode is about your resilience story. And we have been through a very difficult time, all of us. And we all have a resilience story during this time. And I was pondering about how important it is for us to really give ourselves credit for this. And it's also something positive to focus on in a very difficult time. And I've been talking to clients, and a lot of people say, well, but my resilience story is nothing compared to the frontline workers that are out there just risking their lives to save lives, or the firefighters currently in California that are exhausted and fighting fires. There is resilience. But I want to remind you that every story is powerful. And we are not here to judge a story as bigger or better. It's just your story. And I really want to encourage you to write your own resilience story. What have you done to build your resilience in these last 4 months? Now I'm going to go back to the definition of resilience, and I want to give credit to a very good friend of mine, Joel Bennett. I have just completed his training called Resilience and Thriving, The Secret Power of Stress. I was very drawn to this course because I want to deliver it to organizations and counselors and wellness coaches so that they can build in to their companies or their work with clients this concept of resilience and thriving, because it really is a positive spin, let me say, on stress. And boy, do we ever need it now. And Joel's book, which I highly recommend, is called Raw Coping Power. I know with my accent that word raw, R-A-W, Raw Coping Power, from stress to thriving. Joel, Joel Bennett. I highly recommend this book. It really demonstrates how we not only can cope with stress, but we can prosper and tap into these inner resources that we often don't realize we have. So first of all, I'm going to give you a definition of resilience straight from Joel's book, just so you know what we're talking about as we talk about how to create your own resilience story. So resilience is the ability to recover from adversity, bounce back to a normal or higher level of functioning, and also learn from having gone through that experience of adversity. So let's just break that down and think about what we've been through the last 4 months. So the ability to recover from adversity, we see that everywhere. Bounce back to a normal or a higher level of functioning, I see that everywhere. I see people saying, I'm going to be better as a result of what's happened. I'm going to be better in my relationships, in my spiritual life, in my physical health. People are setting these higher intentions, and also learn from having gone through the experience of adversity. So what have you learnt as a result of these 4 months? So that is the definition of resilience. But we're going to get personal, and we're going to talk about our own resilience story. And I see this everywhere. I have been very fortunate that I myself have stayed very well and healthy through these last 4 months. And I have set my set point, so to speak, higher these last 4 months by exercising every day and intentionally connecting with people that I love and value to uplift and inspire me. I've been reading inspirational literature. I've been doing courses like learning about resilience and thriving. I've been doing webinars to educate. I wrote an ebook on how to support your immune system, and I'm actually writing a brand new ebook on mental well-being and resilience because of my passion for recognizing the importance of mental well-being and mental health. So I have been very fortunate, and I have been practicing lots of self-care strategies. And then I looked to my sister. I have an older sister, and she has a loved one that is very ill. And I have observed and connected with her and experienced her resilience in taking care of her loved one. She's the primary caregiver. Not only is that hard at any time, but it's a physical illness that requires regular hospitalization at this time during COVID. And I hear her talk about how she is resilient, what she's doing for her own self-care so she can care for someone that's very, very ill. And I get off FaceTime because she's in Australia, and I think, wow, that is resilience. And she inspires me to be a better person. And it just amazes me when I hear these stories over and over again. And perhaps you know people that have suffered from COVID and have gone through that experience, and how they have brought their innate healing capacity and their innate ability to cope and bounce back. So these are the things I want to focus on. This innate capacity. We have an inborn capacity to build on resilience, not only to cope, but to thrive and to grow. So I encourage you to write your own resilience story. And this is one of the exercises that I do in the workshop on resilience. So if you so feel drawn to journal, you can do it yourself, or you can just call a good friend and say, hey, would you like to do this exercise with me, and just spend maybe 30 minutes, and you can each do 15 minutes so that you each get your time. And you think about a challenge. It's not very hard to think about a challenge that we've been through in the last few months. Think about a challenge and reflect on what has made you stronger. Is there a story of resilience that inspires you, like my sister inspires me? And what strength do you now have as a result of either a story that's inspired you or your own resilience story? So again, these are just questions to ponder. And all you have to do is maybe call a friend and say, hey, would you like to just talk about this? I just listened to a podcast and I'd really like to do this exercise and I'd like to share it with you. And choose any of these questions. You know, it's not the question, it's the process, it's the connection, it's what you do with the questions. So feel free to answer any one of the questions that you feel inspired by. So I'll go through them again. Is there a story of resilience that inspires you? What challenges have made you stronger, and why? And what strength do you now have as a result? Have you continued to cultivate that strength? So I think for us in these last 4 months, I know and I feel in my heart that we are stronger as a result of what has happened. I know we are. And as we each as individuals tap into our own personal resilience story, then we can create this mass consciousness and connection to our innate ability to be resilient and to share that with others. So it's a positive story. Now, I have to say that this is not about treatment or diagnosis. And if you have suffered major trauma in your life, then these kinds of questions could stir up in you some old trauma or some old grief. Please get help. Please reach out to a licensed mental health professional and Seek help. Let this be the impetus for you to say, I'm going to go deeper in this. I'm going to go into that healing mode and bring this up in a supportive environment. The thing is, in our culture, that for some reason we consider mental health a stigma. And it's not. It's part of our human beingness, our mental well-being, our physical well-being, our social well-being, our spiritual well-being. These are all interconnected and beautiful aspects of who we are. And seeking help is a positive self-care strategy. So please get help, reach out for help, ask for help. So if you know someone that is struggling with mental health issues during this time, don't be afraid to reach out and say, seeking help is a major self-care strategy. And how can I help you do that? So help people get help, because when people are suffering depression and anxiety, seeking help is not easy. And sometimes that's what holds them back. They just don't have the energy to be able to seek help. So you can be that impetus and that strategy for them. So I encourage you to dig deep and either journal personally or just call a friend and say, would you like to do this exercise with me? Or share this podcast and say, hey, listen to this podcast and I'd really like us to talk about our resilience story. And remember, do not compare your resilience story to anybody else, because there's always going to be someone that has a bigger one, a more impactful one. You are you. And your journey into discovering your innate capacity to grow through adversity is yours and yours alone. And this is your resilience journey. This is our resilience journey. This is an opportunity to share and support each other. I can't wait to hear how this has been for you. Sometimes I hear from you that you've listened to my podcasts and it's been inspiring. So I love to hear that from you. I love to hear that this has helped you go that next step. So until next time, this is episode 2 in my Resilience and Thriving series. Episode 1 was about our set point for happiness. Episode 2 is your resilience story. So I can't wait to share my next episode. Who knows what that will be? But I will be back to share more about resilience and thriving, the secret power of stress. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of those you love, and know that you have an innate, inborn capacity to not only bounce back from stress, but to be stronger and thrive. Bye for now.